Hi, everybody. Hope you all are doing well. I am going to be doing a general what is coming up for you, pick a card spread. It will be a Celtic cross on whatever is coming up, just anything that appears and shows up. And yeah, so go ahead and pick any deck that calls out to you. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll get started. Okay, let's get started with deck number 1. Deck number 1 is the Gilded Tarot Mini by Ciro Marchetti. Okay, what is coming up for you, generally speaking? Deck number 1, what is coming up? Okay, what will be coming up for deck number 1? Okay, so we have the situation is the Page of Pentacles. So this tells me that right now you likely are on a path of learning something new. Maybe you've started a course, or you have decided to start a new like business, or you want to do something different. But sometimes this could be about like an internship, and in some cases, since this is the card representing the situation, this can also represent that you're dealing with a young person. Maybe you have a child who you're thinking about and they're ready to learn and go to school. Or, as I was saying, it could also be about starting something new. Okay, and the challenge is the Five of Pentacles. So right now, looks like you might be having trouble either feeling secure with your work or feeling secure with finances. These are two financial cards, both pentacles, and could be maybe you had to start something over, and right now the trouble is, finding finding your place, like acceptance. Maybe you're going and trying to learn and find something new, and start, like, maybe if the business is small, and the Five of Pentacles is when you feel like you don't have that need met. Okay, and so the Five of Pentacles can also point to an illness sometimes. Maybe getting sick might have caused you to take time off, or it costs money, and now you're trying to get your finances back in order. It's another possible meaning. Okay, so what is the foundation of the situation? So we have the Four of Cups, and says that for maybe a long time you've felt as though you haven't had your desires met. You've likely been experiencing apathy for some time, and it's actually good that I see the Page of Pentacles then, because with the Four of Cups, if it points to apathy and maybe mild depression, then I would say the Page of Pentacles is welcome, because this means that, most likely you've been feeling like a sense of interest in a new field or study, because the Page of Pentacles represents being interested in something. Your recent past is the Chariot. So recently you felt a more of a spark, or more of a pull towards wanting to focus yourself, like wanting to apply yourself, being motivated, being focused on goals, and making those happen, like finding a sense of direction and purpose, because the Chariot is very like focused on like the prize, like you just want to go and get something done. And it could be that, maybe you traveled recently. So I would say that this is about having found some direction after a time of feeling like kind of blah, like you didn't really know what you wanted to do, and now you might have found what you wanted and what you want to learn and study. But perhaps, you might be having a little bit of trouble with finding either success in it, or maybe the money, because sometimes the Five of Pentacles can mean like you don't have the funds to start something. So yeah. Okay, now is the conscious influence. Okay, so we have the Page of Cups. So the Page of Cups is representative of what you think is coming. That can point to your assumption is that if you work and you apply yourself, you'll wind up in the area like that you feel passion for, because the Page of Cups is basically about, artistic endeavors or something that you love doing. It's associated with anything from art to something that you put your heart into. And I would say your mind now is thinking, okay, if I just if I start this venture and I get going, I'll end up, in a field that I'll end up doing something that makes me truly happy, makes me feel content, or, that I'm passionate about. One thing I will say is with the Page of Cups, if this is representing what you think as is your trajectory, because it's about, it represents your conscious influence, I would say that you probably aren't thinking, you're going to be hugely successful. Maybe you just want something that makes you happy, like to do what you love doing. Some people, obviously, they pursue careers for different reasons. Some people just want security. Some people just want, fame and success and money. And it seems like in your case, you're looking for something that gives you some just happiness, something that you like doing. And yeah, so future influence is the Ten of Wands. So I would say that there's coming up is a period of work, stress, like a heavy load, feeling like as though there's a lot to be done, you're feeling overwhelmed, stress, clearly he's got like back breaking work. This is what's coming up for the next month or so. And I would say this can point to a period of when, okay, it can also be a good card. I was trying to say, like, it could be a good thing, because we're seeing the Page of Pentacles is like a novice, kind of, a student, a pupil. The Ten of Wands can mean, when you're starting to do well in the work you're doing, then you're left with responsibilities that, even though it can be stressful, it's indicative that you have lots of work. Like, lots of work does mean responsibility. Somebody is entrusting you with that responsibility. Okay, so let's take a look at your attitude and yourself. Okay, so that is the moon. We have the moon. So the moon means anxiety. The moon can represent you've been feeling anxious, but changeable, maybe moody, having dreams. Sometimes, like, it could mean you have dreams that can give you some direction. It could be like psychic interludes, and it can also be just feeling emotional for no reason. Sometimes it could represent like heavy anxiety. That's one of the darker meanings. Okay, so let's look at the environment. Queen of Pentacles. So the Queen of Pentacles is being that's the environment, and that can also be how others view you. That can mean that people see you as very practical, down to earth, very reliable, resourceful. The environment upon which you live in is very practical. Could be that this whole general reading is really based on your work. Maybe that's what's the important thing that you're thinking about right now. I don't see a whole lot of cards that point to love or your relationship. It seems more like it's focusing a lot on your work and your practical life more than anything. And even if you're a man, I would say the Queen of Pentacles can point to people thinking you're just a very reliable individual. Because sometimes the queens can represent what we think and feel rather than like, just simply gender specific. So, okay. And the hopes and fears and guidance. Okay, so the Hierophant means you're wanting to fit into something that is a routine, or you're wanting to feel accepted into society, or you want to get established into the fabric of something. It doesn't say what. The Hierophant is a very broad card. It could represent school, it could represent a church, it could represent society as a whole, and which society, right? It's just a very, very general card. It's a card of institutionalization as well. But this is pointing to the fact that maybe you want to feel part of something. The Hierophant is definitely not a card of going your own way and being like rebellious and following the beat of your own drummer. It is like pretty much the opposite. It's like about wanting to join the living and learn and, be part of a system and be integrated as a member of society. Okay, the outcome. Wow, the outcome is the Three of Cups. Well, okay, so if I was saying earlier that the Hierophant represents your desire, or, the direction of wanting to be part of something. Well, the Three of Cups is even better. I mean, it really is, it's not just about being part of society just for the sake of it. It's about finding your community, finding what makes you happy, and it makes you feel accepted, finding what truly makes you feel whole. And after a period of what looks like, hard work, you're finding your community. It could be that since the reading had started with the Page of Pentacles as the central situation, I would say that by 8 to 10 months, which is roughly when the outcome card, the timing of the outcome card should take an effect, you're feeling a lot more happy and just accepted in a group, at your job, in your field, and it looks very functional. It's very healthy. Okay, and clarifier is the Hermit. Okay, well, I would say that with the Hermit, it is not always about isolating, and being lonely. That's one of the more negative meanings, but I've also found that with the Hermit, it can point to being like learning and attaining wisdom, and when you have something to understand about life. For example, after everything is said and done, you will say to yourself, like, I've learned how life operates. It's about wisdom. And I think the Hermit card in this case is healthy, because when we see clearly that you are in a relatively healthy space, socially speaking, to see the Hermit points to a good balance. It's kind of like, when there's a time to go and see your friends and talk with people and have fun, and then you have the balance to go and check out and take time to yourself and recharge, you know, because that's how I look at the hermit. And I also look at it as somebody who's mastered something about life, you know, attained wisdom. Okay, so yeah, that is reading number one. Let's get started with deck number two. Okay, deck number two is the Witch's Tarot by Ellen Dugan. Okay, what is your general life reading? What is coming up for you generally? Okay, general situation for deck number two. So it looks like right now you have started something new. There's an opportunity that you're able to take advantage of. This could be a beginning of a new job, a business. It could be you feel secure right now in your life. This card's about money, stability. It doesn't explain the context, so let's see. The challenge is the Queen of Wands. So I would say with the Queen of Wands, you feel secure, but at the same time, you have security is actually what I mean to say. You have security, but maybe you're not feeling very confident right now in what you're dealing with. Sometimes the obstacle or challenge, this card, the second card, it can also mean something that's an advantage. So it could even be that you got to where you are because of your confidence. But confidence is basically something that is working for you or against you. So you would know which one applies here. If you feel relatively confident right now, then you likely got there through confidence. But if you are in a situation where you have stability, maybe there's a scarcity mindset, you know, because if it's meant to be a negative meaning, then it could pose as a possibly like a mindset like that's like scarcity thinking, you know. Okay, well, the foundation is the sun. So that means that you've overall been quite, I would say, optimistic in life. This is the sun is quite similar to the Queen of Wands as far as brightness, happiness. So I would say the interpretation of the Queen of Wands is more positive in this case. Okay, so this is about success. Like your success led you to where you are now. Your recent past is the Four of Swords, which means that you've taken time, you've taken a break. Maybe you've stopped to like pause and reset yourself. Could be like the past month you've taken time out to just be, Your conscious influence is the Queen of Swords. So that means you're anticipating that your future could be one that requires being realistic, um, no nonsense. I see the Queen of Swords as somebody who's very, almost a little bit like pessimistic, but not like too much, just kind of cynical. So maybe for some reason you're thinking, I'm gonna have to be more realistic or take on a more no nonsense approach. I'm not really sure why though. I mean, it says that it's a card about being very direct. Um, Sometimes because like the Queen of Wands can represent being alone. Maybe you're thinking for some reason there's um, a time where maybe you're thinking about being lonely one day, or maybe you feel that way now. Okay, so, well, the near future is the Three of Cups, so I don't see loneliness coming in the near future. Definitely not. Um, Kind of seems like what you are anticipating is a little bit opposite of what's coming in the next few months, because the Three of Cups points to community acceptance, camaraderie. If you're a woman, you are close with other females that you have friends. Okay, and your attitude is the Page of Pentacles. So again, like this is about being down to earth, practical. I think you have a sensible attitude. You like learning things, or you like just being down to earth. This is a very modest type of card. It's like the card of a student, somebody who's more humble. They don't try to act like they're so know-it-all-ish. And your environment card, or how people view you. So karma means, this is actually judgment in tarot. It could represent people think that you are somebody that got like everything that she deserved or he deserved. So if you're in a good place, they think you got there because you got what you deserved. Like you're right now, or the environment upon which you're living in, you're getting back everything that you put in. It's basically the concept that you received what you put out into in your life. All the hard work you did, it's paying off. Okay, and we have for the hopes and fears and your guidance is the Nine of Wands. So I think there's a part of you that knows that you may have to keep going, and maybe you don't want to. Maybe you don't want to keep going. Maybe you're disliking the idea of perseverance. Maybe you're anticipating there's something difficult coming. I could see like a similarity in frequency between the Queen of Swords and the Nine of Wands, because they both represent a kind of attitude that points to, I've seen how the world is. I'm not naive, I have experience. It's almost like there was this sense of like naive optimism back when, in the beginning, and now you're thinking, well, I have experience in life, and a part of you doesn't really like having to be so realistic, maybe. Um, it's like there's a good angle to this because you've attained a sense of street smarts, but at the same time, you might want to go back to, you know, that happy carefree self, you know. Okay, and the outcome is the Eight of Cups. So that means you might decide you want to, you know, go and move on to something new. Um, Interestingly, Queen of Swords, back to her, she is a very solitary figure. You know, they say she's the person that likes to be alone, or, you know, she kind of stands on her own. And one thing with the Eight of Cups is I would say it's like a very solitary figure. You know, it's like you want to go and start a new journey. Um, you're looking for answers on something. Like what you have isn't really enough. You want to go explore something new. Well, let's see the clarifier. Seven of Swords. Well, I would say you're going to continue, you know, exploring. Eight of Cups, Seven of Swords, they're both solitary again. Kind of withdrawing, refraining from society. I definitely don't feel you have any trouble with finding friends, but sometimes people like to take breaks. So I would say by 8 to 12, 8 to 10 months, you might be wanting to just unplug, unwind, and explore something new, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. So I definitely see here the theme that seems to be discussed in this reading for deck number 2 is focusing on your alone time, because see, we have the Four of Swords who likes, you know, being alone for a while, but then you have a period of like interaction and human engagement, and your social life seems to become more full, and then you're just like, okay, that now that that's happened, I just want to, like, you know, be alone for a while again. So yeah, that is deck number 2, and I will now get started on deck number 3. Deck number 3 is Steampunk Tarot Mini by Barbara Moore. What is coming up for deck number 3? Okay, so your situation is the Judgment. So right now, I would say you're experiencing some sort of awakening, a reckoning. You feel like you're in a place of, like, you feel like you are where you need to be, you know what you need to do. Decisive is the word. You're feeling decisive about something. Okay, your crossing card is the Four of Wands. This is about completion. This is about foundations. This is about something that it's a very positive card. So I will interpret it positively here because it seems that you got to a place of knowing what you need to do. You did the work and you did some kind of work that you needed, and now you feel like you might have even felt you had support along the way, and now you know what you want to do. Sometimes judgment can mean you're able to assess your life. Like like I said, it's a card of reckoning. So you're looking back and you're thinking like, this happened to me because I did these good things, you know, I did the work. And yeah, so the foundation is the Nine of Swords. So clearly, things didn't start off easy. There was a lot of stress, a lot of regret, a lot of worrying, sometimes despair. Something very difficult was you know, at the forefront of your mind in the either the distant past or regarding the situation. Your recent past is the Hanged Man. So looks like you had made some sacrifices, or you finally just let go. Maybe something that you've been worrying about here with the Nine of Swords. You've decided like you're just going to surrender and let go, and could be that the Judgment card was the answer. Like when you let go, you finally released and you see how everything connects. Like you have an answer for something, you know, something that has been causing you a lot of stress. Okay, a lot of major arcana cards for deck number 3. Your conscious influence is strength. So you're anticipating there's going to be more need to be resilient. You have to be a good, patient person. You need to demonstrate strength of heart. I would say it's like imagining someone. I would say you probably say things like, it's going to be hard, but I'm still going to do what's right. I'm going to be a good person. I'm going to be patient with people. I'm going to put on a brave face, that sort of thing. Your near future is Two of Cups. So I see partnership coming, something that kind of seems out of left field, this Two of Cups. Like, you know, maybe if you have a husband, they're going to be, or a spouse, I should just say, you know, if you're married, they're more prevalent, they're more helpful to you. You're enjoying your time with either a friend that you're intimate with, or getting close with, or your relationship has, you know, will be getting better in the next couple of months. Okay, and your the moon again. So the same as pile number 1. So yeah, so your attitude again, you know, there's some anxiety about things. There's this very similar to the Nine of Swords. A lot of worrying, anxiety, moodiness. Yeah, maybe you've been having like dreams and psychic interludes and stuff like that. Your environment is the Knight of Wands. So This would mean that, people see you as somebody who's very fast paced, maybe impulsive, maybe you can come across as temperamental, or maybe the environment you work in requires fast work, being decisive, being quick, fast on your feet, that sort of thing. It's hard to tell if this is representing the environment or how people view you. It's, and if this is about a partner, this can mean that they, your partner, can be somebody who's also temperamental, you know. Okay, your hopes and your fears. So you might be afraid of having a difficult ending or a change. It could literally be fear of losing somebody. It could be a fear of a big change that you're not ready for. Sometimes, you could be, with this card, it could be about embracing change, like a transformation. But one thing I'll say is that if this is the guidance, if this is about guidance, it is definitely saying to let go. Like you've let go and just embrace it. Your outcome is the Page of Wands. Well, I like the Page of Wands because the Page of Wands is about new adventures, exploring something new, learning something new, being enthusiastic. It's about having a fun time. Sometimes it's about sexual adventures too, but since we do see the Two of Cups, it could be if you are in a relationship, maybe you rekindle the spark and the passion in your relationship. And the clarifier is the Three of Wands. So I would say that coming up ahead for you is a lot of changes, lots of changes. Clearly, the theme is you seem like maybe you were in some kind of rut. There's a lot of anxiety. You let go, and now you know what you need to do. Maybe you had like an epiphany, and you're now embracing your you're now maybe looking at your relationship with a new lens. That's a really nice thing, I would say. And especially with death being your advice, it's saying to embrace that change. And there's also a possibility that, for some of you, maybe you broke up and it's telling you to embrace a new person. It could be that too. So it's hard to tell which one of these things it is. But the outcome by the 8 to 10 month mark, you're absolutely you're embracing change, you're on adventures. This is a card of foreign travel in some cases. So yeah, very exciting times are coming for deck number 3. Okay, and that is all, and I will now get started on deck number 4. Okay, deck number 4 is the Classic Tarot with Barbara Moore. Okay, group number 4, what is coming up? Okay, so the situation we have is the Five of Swords. So it seems deck number 4, you are having some difficulties with people. Maybe your situation involves dealing with a tough crowd. Maybe there's corruption around you. Maybe you're dealing with some not nice people. Maybe you're encountering an environment where you're dealing with cruel people or a gang, or there's violence around you. Sounds a little bit dramatic, but the following cards can give us more context. So, yeah, let's see what the challenge or the helping energy is. So, we have the Queen of Swords. So, I would say if this is about somebody, a particular person with the Queen of Swords energy, there's a harshness that could be that could be contributing to this situation you're in. Maybe there are laws around, where you live, or maybe, it could be a powerful or domineering woman is causing problems, you know. So yeah, I don't particularly see the Five of Swords as a very positive card. So trying to tie in how the Queen of Swords can come into play here. Yeah, I feel like it's mainly about a person, who typically, queens are female, but somebody who's just being very domineering and they're making the environment more hostile. Maybe you're dealing with a difficult woman. Okay, your foundation is the moon. So you've been dealing with anxiety and uncertainty and maybe lies and deception for a while. I'm kind of feeling, maybe looking at this, that perhaps this could be about a marriage that is not going well. Maybe this person is lying. It doesn't have to be a partner, it could be a family member. It's not explaining the relationship, but it seems there's a lot of uncertainty, and like the foundation is based on, a mood swings, somebody who's always getting upset and they're unstable if they're not outright lying. But I don't know which one applies here. The past is the King of Pentacles. So I would say that things looked like they were relatively stable, but King of Pentacles can be kind of boring, uneventful. Maybe you're in the situation you are because it's financially stable, but mentally and emotionally it's not. It could be that this is about a marriage again. Maybe you have a husband who's providing, or somebody, a male is providing, and it's not making you're not finding happiness in this dynamic though. Okay, and your conscious influence, oh my goodness, Eight of Swords. Deck number 4, I feel you're going through a lot of challenges. Looks like you're not really envisioning a positive outlook either. So the Eight of Swords is like saying, I'm trapped. Like it screams, I'm trapped. I've already, like, because it's, the foundation's the moon. So, you're saying it's already been uncertain, and the situation is solid. You know, the King of Pentacles is about something that's solid. Like, you know, it can be a good card because it's about stability and, you know, being direct and trustworthy. But I don't see any happiness in this reading right now. It's like showing the future. You're anticipating it's going to be very difficult. Okay, the near future is the Knight of Swords. So it seems like there's more conflict. Like, I always see the Knight of Swords as like a shouting match or getting angry or knock on wood, but it can also be like attacking somebody. You know, maybe you have enough and you just decide like you're gonna leave. And sometimes it could represent fights, like literally, especially with the Five of Swords as like a very combative type of, you know, energy. Yourself, your attitude. So it seems like you see yourself as somebody who is like denies, like you deny that something is wrong. You know, maybe you're not addressing the elephant in the room, and maybe it's time you're feeling like you need to say something, you need to speak up. I noticed they both have blindfolds on. I'm seeing that here. It's like you probably decided that you're just going to continue saying nothing, doing nothing, pretending like you don't see what's going on, just to kind of keep the peace. And it seems like, you know, it's just gonna stay that way. Like there'll be more of the same. But maybe you're telling yourself you're okay. Because sometimes the Two of Swords is like about being peaceful, but it's like a denial. Like you're denying it. Like if somebody were to say, you know, this person you live with, you know, they're so bad. How could you deal with this? You know, you could be saying, what? I don't know what you're talking about. Everything's fine, you know, nothing to see here. It's like that kind of energy. Okay, the environment and how people see you. So this is a card of like hypervigilance. People see you as somebody who's maybe always got your head on a swivel. You're curious about things. The environment is like there's a lot of surveillance, you know. They call this the spy card. And so this could mean that people see you as somebody who's smart, but at the same time, you have your, you know, your head on a swivel. You know, you understand your environment quite well, and you're curious about things, but maybe there's a lack of trust. People see you as mistrusting. And if this is about the person, that if there's a person involved in this reading, and if it's picking up on another individual, could be they are very, you know, they are always surveilling you. You know, it could be that too. Okay, your conscious, I'm sorry, not your hopes and fears is strength. So it's telling you to be strong, but it's saying be strong. And I feel it's really encouraging you to really fight to get out of the negative situation, and to be patient. But the fear aspect of this position is saying maybe you're thinking, I don't want to have to keep fighting. I don't want to have to always be strong. Like, you know, you don't want to fight for your rights. You don't want to fight to be free. You know, maybe like you feel like you've just checked out and that's enough. But it is saying there's something coming that is like a big shift, you know, a shift. Okay, so the outcome. Death. Okay, so there's some kind of big change coming. Um, there's a change coming, and I hope it's a good one. Um, I would say, with the advice of the Strength card, that it's telling you, you know, to be, again, be strong. Don't think that you're out of options. I'm seeing a lot of swords here, actually, in this reading. No cups, no wands. Yeah, and then also the strength card, being that it's a major arcana, falling in the advice the advice section. This, you know, major arcanas are meant to be lessons, like we need to learn. Like, this is about learning to be strong. Like, it'll force you to learn these things, you know. And then the death card, being major arcana, also means that a change is inevitable. Okay, and so the clarifier is the King of Swords. So this means that with this change, you know, whatever this could be, it's a change that is going to involve having to look at life in a very black and white lens, you know. Maybe you end up learning to stand up for yourself, you know. But yeah, and I would say, so by like the next 8 to 10 months, there's a change that will be coming for you, deck number 4. I really hope it's a good, positive one. But I think it really all depends on what you do, you know, what you decide to do. Okay, and that is my reading for deck number 4. I hope it makes sense. Sorry, it doesn't sound very warm and fuzzy, but I am a very straight shooter in my readings. So, okay, that is all. I hope that made sense, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.